Introduction. The 80/20 Principle. Richard Koch's The 80/20 Principle is rooted in the Pareto Principle, which states that roughly 80% of results come from just 20% of efforts, a concept originally observed by economist Vilfredo Pareto, who found that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population. However, this distribution pattern extends far beyond economics and applies to nearly all aspects of life, from business and productivity to personal success, relationships and decision-making, revealing an inherent imbalance in effort and reward where a small portion of causes drive the majority of outcomes, challenging the traditional assumption that effort and results are always proportionate, and instead showing that success often comes from focusing on a few high-impact activities while disregarding the vast majority of low-value efforts, an idea that, when properly understood and applied, has the potential to dramatically increase efficiency and effectiveness in both professional and personal life by helping individuals and businesses recognize that time, resources, and energy are not all equally valuable, and that a focused approach to prioritization can yield significantly better results with less effort, which is why Koch emphasizes the importance of identifying and leveraging the most productive 20% in any given situation rather than spreading oneself too thin across unproductive tasks, an approach that has been widely applied in fields like sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, and self-improvement, where studies consistently show that a small percentage of customers generate the majority of revenue, a handful of marketing strategies bring the highest conversions, and only a few habits contribute to the majority of personal growth and achievement, reinforcing the idea that the key to success is not working harder but working smarter by eliminating inefficiencies and directing attention to the areas that truly matter, which in turn allows people to achieve greater success, wealth, happiness, and fulfillment while reducing wasted time and effort, making it a powerful framework not just for productivity but also for a more balanced and rewarding life, since the principle suggests that by analyzing where the highest returns come from, whether in business, learning, fitness, or relationships, one can make strategic choices that lead to better outcomes with minimal input. And Koch goes further by explaining that those who master the 80/20 mindset can create disproportionate advantages for themselves, as seen in the way certain entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders consistently outperform others by focusing on what truly moves the needle rather than getting caught up in trivial tasks. An insight that contradicts the conventional belief that success is purely a matter of hard work and long hours, demonstrating instead that those who understand and apply the principle can achieve more in less time, which is why many of the most successful companies, executives, and professionals structure their time and strategies around maximizing the highest value activities and cutting out distractions, inefficiencies, and low-impact tasks, allowing them to achieve breakthroughs with seemingly less effort than those who take a more scattered, unfocused approach. And this idea has significant implications for personal development as well, since it suggests that most people waste the majority of their time on things that do not significantly improve their lives, when instead they could be identifying the small set of habits, relationships, and opportunities that contribute most to their well-being, making the 80/20 principle not just a business strategy but also a life philosophy that encourages people to question where they invest their energy and whether they are truly focusing on the areas that create the greatest impact, which is why Koch argues that those who consciously apply the principle can free themselves from unnecessary burdens and focus on the few things that actually bring results, whether that means streamlining a business, optimizing productivity, strengthening relationships, or enhancing personal happiness, since in every area of life there are always a few key factors that make the biggest difference, and learning to identify and harness these factors is what separates high achievers from those who remain stuck in mediocrity, because once someone internalizes the 80/20 way of thinking, they can begin to see patterns of inefficiency everywhere and take deliberate action to reallocate their time and resources toward what truly matters, whether it be in their career, personal life, or financial decisions, as Koch illustrates with countless examples of individuals and companies that have leveraged the principle to achieve exponential success, showing that while most people believe success requires equal effort in all areas, the reality is that a few targeted efforts can lead to outsized rewards, meaning that understanding and embracing this principle allows people to unlock hidden potential in themselves and their businesses by simply recognizing that most activities do not contribute meaningfully to their goals. And once this realization sets in, it becomes clear that the key to extraordinary achievement is not necessarily working longer hours or doing more, but rather strategically identifying and focusing on the small percentage of actions that truly drive progress, which is why the principle is often seen as a game changer in fields like business strategy, time management, and personal development, as it encourages a shift away from traditional thinking that values sheer effort toward a more analytical approach that prioritizes efficiency and effectiveness, helping people to not only achieve more but also live with less stress and more satisfaction by directing their attention to the areas that bring the most joy, success, and fulfillment while letting go of the majority of distractions and unimportant tasks that consume time without producing meaningful results, making the 80-20 principle a must-read for anyone looking to improve their productivity, business success, or overall quality of life by applying a simple yet profoundly impactful rule that can reshape the way they approach work, decision-making, and personal growth for the better. Chapter 1. The 80-20 Principle Defined. Richard Koch's The 80-20 Principle begins by defining the fundamental idea that a small percentage of inputs, efforts, or causes generate the majority of results, outcomes, or rewards, a phenomenon widely known as the Pareto Principle. Originally observed by Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto in the late 19th century when he noticed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population, and over time, this pattern has been found to extend beyond wealth distribution to almost every field, including business, productivity, economics, and even personal success, where the vast majority of benefits or achievements come from a small portion of efforts or resources. And Koch explains that this is not merely a statistical quirk but an underlying reality of the way the world functions, emphasizing that in almost any domain, a small fraction of inputs leads to a disproportionately large fraction of outcomes, which means that understanding this principle and applying it effectively can allow individuals and businesses to dramatically increase efficiency and success, particularly because most people assume that effort and reward are evenly distributed, when in reality a select few activities, strategies, or decisions yield the highest returns, and by identifying these crucial elements, people can optimize their time, focus, and energy on what truly matters instead of spreading themselves thin on tasks that contribute little to their ultimate goals, a realization that has profound implications for anyone seeking to enhance productivity, improve business performance, or achieve greater personal satisfaction, as Koch provides numerous examples demonstrating how the 80-20 principle manifests in different areas, such as in business, where 80% of a company's profits typically come from just 20% of its customers, products, or services, or in sales, where a small fraction of clients often account for the majority of revenue, and even in personal time management, where a person's most productive hours contribute to the bulk of their accomplishments, suggesting that by concentrating on these high-impact areas, individuals can achieve more with less effort, which is why Koch argues that the greatest mistake people make is failing to recognize the natural imbalance that governs outcomes, instead assuming that hard work alone leads to success when in fact, strategic focus on the most effective areas is far more important, and this is why organizations that recognize the 80-20 principle thrive, as they identify and prioritize their most profitable activities while eliminating or delegating less productive ones, an approach that can also be applied on a personal level to maximize success in career, relationships, and even health, since the same principle suggests that a small portion of habits and behaviors lead to the majority of desired outcomes, meaning that by analyzing which activities drive the most significant results, individuals can design a lifestyle that maximizes benefits with minimal wasted effort. And Koch makes it clear that the 80-20 principle is not an exact formula where results must always be split 80-20ths but rather a general observation that in any system, the majority of results typically come from a minority of inputs, which can be observed in fields as diverse as technology, where a handful of software features drive the most user engagement, or even crime prevention, where a small percentage of criminals are responsible for the majority of crimes, reinforcing the idea that patterns of imbalance exist everywhere and can be leveraged for greater efficiency. And while many people intuitively understand this principle, few take full advantage of it, which is why Koch insists that developing an 80-20 mindset is one of the most powerful ways to achieve breakthroughs in any area of life, urging readers to analyze their work, goals, and priorities to identify which small percentage of efforts create the greatest impact, and in doing so, they can shift away from the common trap of trying to do everything equally well and instead focus their resources on the areas that truly drive progress, an approach that not only increases success but also reduces stress, frustration, and wasted time, because once someone internalizes this way of thinking, they begin to see inefficiencies everywhere, recognizing how much energy is spent on unimportant tasks while the real drivers of success remain underutilized, a concept that challenges the conventional belief that effort and reward are always proportional. revealing instead that the key to achieving extraordinary success is in identifying and maximizing the most effective 20% of activities while cutting back on the less effective 80%, which is why some of the most successful individuals and businesses are those that have mastered this principle, as they have learned to direct their time and resources toward the areas with the highest returns, a lesson that applies not only to work but also to personal life, where the relationships, habits, and decisions that bring the most happiness and fulfillment are often concentrated in a small fraction of overall experiences, meaning that by deliberately prioritizing what matters most, people can create more meaningful and rewarding lives while avoiding the common pitfall of being overwhelmed by less significant distractions, which is why Koch suggests that one of the first steps to applying the 80-20 principle is to perform an audit of one's life and work, identifying where the most valuable results are coming from and then shifting focus toward those areas, an exercise that can reveal surprising insights, as many people realize that they have been dedicating far too much time to activities that yield little to no benefit while neglecting the key areas that actually drive success, a problem that can be solved by adopting an 80-20 mindset that prioritizes effectiveness over mere effort, ensuring that attention is given to the tasks, strategies, and relationships that generate the best outcomes. And by embracing this way of thinking, individuals can escape the cycle of busyness and frustration that often comes from spreading themselves too thin, instead creating a life and career where progress feels easier and more natural, as they are no longer fighting against inefficiency but rather aligning themselves with the natural imbalance that governs all systems, a perspective that not only enhances productivity but also promotes a greater sense of control and satisfaction. Since knowing that success is not about doing more but about doing the right things allows people to eliminate unnecessary stress and complexity from their lives. And Koch's argument is ultimately that by understanding and leveraging the 80-20 principle, anyone can unlock hidden potential, maximize their achievements, and create a more fulfilling life with far less effort than they previously thought necessary, making this concept one of the most valuable insights for anyone looking to improve their personal or professional success by working smarter rather than harder. A lesson that continues to influence countless individuals and businesses who have recognized that true efficiency comes not from doing everything but from identifying and doubling down on the small percentage of efforts that yield the majority of results. Chapter 2: How to Use the 80-20 Principle. Richard Koch, in Chapter 2 of the 80-20 Principle, delves into the practical application of the principle by illustrating how individuals and businesses can harness the power of focusing on the most impactful 20% of their efforts to achieve extraordinary results with minimal effort, emphasizing that the key to success lies not in working harder but in working smarter, as most people and organizations expend too much energy on low-value activities, believing that all tasks contribute equally to success, when in reality only a small fraction of inputs drive the majority of outcomes, which means that recognizing and prioritizing these high-impact activities can lead to significant improvements in productivity, profitability, and personal satisfaction. And Koch argues that one of the most important steps in applying the 80-20 principle is conducting an analysis of where time, money, and resources are being spent to identify the areas that generate the most results, whether in business, where 20% of customers often generate 80% of profits, or in personal productivity, where a small percentage of habits and routines contribute to the majority of accomplishments. And once these high-value activities are identified, the next step is to shift focus and resources toward them while eliminating, delegating, or automating the remaining 80% that produces little impact, which can free up time and energy for more meaningful and productive pursuits, a process that requires challenging traditional assumptions about effort and reward, as most people are conditioned to believe that success is directly proportional to effort, when in fact, success is more about identifying and optimizing the right areas rather than simply increasing workload. And Koch provides numerous examples demonstrating how individuals and organizations that have applied this principle have achieved remarkable efficiency and success, such as companies that have doubled their profits by concentrating on their most valuable customers while discontinuing products or services that contribute little to revenue, and professionals who have dramatically increased their productivity by restructuring their schedules to focus only on the most effective tasks, illustrating that the application of the 80-20 principle is not about neglecting responsibilities but about strategic prioritization, ensuring that energy is directed toward activities that yield the highest returns, which can be achieved through various techniques such as time management, outsourcing, and leveraging technology to automate repetitive processes, all of which contribute to achieving more with less. And Koch emphasizes that the principle is not just applicable to business but can also be used in personal development, relationships, and even happiness, as most people spend excessive time on obligations, social commitments, or habits that do not significantly contribute to their well-being, when instead they could be focusing on the few activities and relationships that truly bring them joy and fulfillment. And he urges readers to reflect on their own lives and ask themselves whether they are spending their time and energy on the things that truly matter or if they are trapped in a cycle of busyness that yields little meaningful progress. A common problem in modern society where people often mistake activity for productivity, believing that being busy equates to being effective, when in reality most of what they do has little impact on their long-term success or happiness, and by adopting an 80-20 mindset, individuals can free themselves from this inefficiency by identifying and focusing on the few key areas that drive the majority of their success, whether it be in career, health, or personal growth. And Koch suggests that one of the most powerful ways to implement the principle is through regular self-audits, where individuals assess their daily activities, tasks, and commitments to determine which ones are truly valuable and which ones can be reduced or eliminated, a process that requires both honesty and discipline, as many people are resistant to change and continue engaging in ineffective behaviors simply because they are accustomed to them. But once they realize that their biggest achievements often come from a small percentage of their efforts, they can begin making deliberate changes to optimize their routines and priorities. And one of the most eye-opening realizations that comes from applying the 80-20 principle is that many of the tasks and commitments people consider essential are actually unnecessary, as seen in businesses that continue investing in unprofitable products, employees who spend hours on tasks that could be automated, and individuals who dedicate time to relationships or activities that bring them little joy, all of which highlight the importance of identifying and eliminating inefficiencies to create more space for the things that truly matter. And Koch explains that while many people fear letting go of tasks or commitments, believing that doing so might reduce their chances of success, the opposite is actually true, as removing low-value activities allows for greater focus on the few areas that generate the most impact, ultimately leading to greater success, less stress, and a higher quality of life. And this principle applies not only to work and personal productivity but also to learning and skill development, as studies have shown that a small percentage of study techniques, mentors, or experiences contribute to the majority of knowledge acquisition, meaning that students and professionals who focus on the most effective learning methods can achieve mastery in less time than those who attempt to learn everything equally, reinforcing Koch's argument that effectiveness is not about doing more but about doing the right things, which is why he encourages readers to experiment with different ways of applying the principle in their own lives, whether by reassessing their career focus, optimizing their work processes, or even redesigning their social lives to prioritize meaningful relationships over superficial connections. And one of the most compelling aspects of the 80-20 principle is that it is universally applicable, meaning that once people understand its core logic, they can begin to recognize and apply it in virtually any area, from financial management, where a small percentage of investments often yield the highest returns, to fitness, where a few key exercises and dietary habits contribute to the majority of health benefits, to relationships, where a small percentage of interactions create the majority of meaningful emotional connections, proving that once someone begins to see the world through an 80-20 lens, they can unlock a level of efficiency and success that most people never achieve simply because they are stuck in the traditional mindset that values effort over impact. And this shift in thinking is what separates high achievers from those who struggle with constant busyness and frustration, as the most successful individuals are not necessarily those who work the hardest but those who work the smartest by identifying and prioritizing their highest value activities while eliminating or delegating the rest. An approach that allows them to achieve extraordinary results while maintaining a sense of balance and well-being. And Koch's message is clear. The 80-20 principle is not just a theory but a practical strategy that anyone can apply to transform their life, career, and business by making smarter choices about where to invest their time and energy, ensuring that they focus on the few key actions that truly drive progress rather than getting lost in the illusion of productivity, which is why he concludes the chapter by urging readers to take immediate action in identifying their own 80-20 patterns and restructuring their priorities accordingly, because once someone embraces this way of thinking, they will never approach work, success, or personal fulfillment the same way again. Chapter 3, Time Management with 80/20. The 80-20 principle by Richard Koch focuses on applying the principle to time management, demonstrating that most people waste a significant portion of their time on low-value activities while only a small fraction of their efforts contribute to the majority of their success. And he argues that by identifying and focusing on the most productive 20% of tasks, individuals can drastically improve their efficiency, reduce stress, and achieve greater success with less effort, challenging the traditional belief that being busy equates to being productive, when in reality, effective time management is about eliminating the unnecessary and prioritizing the essential, as he explains that most people spend their days reacting to emails, attending unnecessary meetings, performing routine administrative tasks, and engaging in low-priority work that contributes little to their ultimate goals, leaving them exhausted but not necessarily accomplished, and he suggests that to break this cycle, individuals must conduct a thorough analysis of their daily activities, identifying which tasks truly drive results and which ones merely consume time without adding significant value, an approach that requires not only self-awareness but also the willingness to challenge conventional workplace norms that emphasize busyness over effectiveness. And he provides numerous examples to illustrate how individuals and organizations that adopt an 80-20 approach to time management achieve far greater results than those who attempt to spread their energy evenly across all tasks, such as successful entrepreneurs who delegate or eliminate non-essential work to focus exclusively on strategic decision-making, or top performers in various fields who structure their days around their peak productivity periods, ensuring that their most important tasks receive their full attention during the hours when they are most capable of deep, focused work, and he explains that this level of prioritization is not about cutting corners but about maximizing impact by concentrating on the high-value activities that generate the greatest rewards, and one of the key strategies he recommends is the concept of time blocking, where individuals schedule their most important tasks during their peak productivity hours and rigorously protect this time from interruptions, ensuring that they dedicate their best mental energy to their highest impact work rather than allowing their schedules to be dictated by external demands, a practice that has been adopted by some of the world's most successful business leaders, writers, and creatives who recognize that deep work, rather than multitasking or constant busyness, is the key to producing meaningful results, and he also emphasizes the importance of saying no to distractions, explaining that many people struggle with time management not because they lack discipline but because they fail to set clear boundaries, allowing themselves to be pulled into meetings, phone calls, and obligations that contribute little to their primary objectives, when in reality, learning to say no to non-essential tasks is one of the most powerful ways to reclaim time and focus, and he encourages readers to audit their schedules, identifying which commitments can be eliminated, delegated, or streamlined to free up more time for the activities that truly matter. And he also introduces the idea of batching similar tasks together to reduce cognitive switching costs, explaining that constantly shifting between different types of work drains mental energy and reduces efficiency, whereas grouping similar tasks, such as responding to emails in a designated time block or scheduling all meetings on a single day, can significantly improve productivity by allowing individuals to stay in a focused state for longer periods. And another critical aspect of 80-20 time management is recognizing that not all tasks require perfection, as he argues that many people waste valuable time trying to perfect minor details that have little impact on overall success, when in reality, applying the principle of good enough to low-value tasks allows individuals to reserve their energy for the work that truly moves the needle, a mindset shift that can lead to massive efficiency gains by ensuring that perfectionism does not become a barrier to progress. And he also discusses how the 80-20 principle can be applied to goal setting, explaining that rather than trying to achieve dozens of goals simultaneously, individuals should identify the few key objectives that will produce the greatest impact on their lives and careers, then structure their time around making consistent progress toward these priorities, which requires eliminating distractions, avoiding the temptation to chase every new opportunity, and maintaining a relentless focus on the few actions that generate the biggest results. And he highlights that many of the most successful people in history, from business moguls to world-class. Chapter 4, Business and Money. In Chapter 4 of the 80-20 principle, Richard Koch explores how the principle applies to business and money, revealing that a small percentage of efforts, products, customers, or strategies typically generate the majority of profits and success, and he argues that understanding and leveraging this imbalance is key to building a highly profitable business, making better financial decisions, and achieving long-term wealth, explaining that in almost every company 20% of the products or services contribute to 80% of the revenue, 20% of customers bring in 80% of sales, and 20% of marketing efforts lead to 80% of brand awareness, which means that by identifying these high-value areas and focusing resources on them while cutting down on the less profitable 80%, businesses can experience exponential growth and profitability with less effort. And he provides numerous examples of companies that have thrived by applying this principle, such as those that doubled down on their best-selling products, eliminated low-margin offerings, or shifted their marketing efforts toward their most loyal and high-spending customers, demonstrating that the key to business success is not trying to serve everyone or do everything equally but rather identifying and prioritizing the most effective 20% of actions, which is why many of the world's most successful companies, from tech giants to luxury brands, focus on their most profitable customer segments and refine their product lines to concentrate on what truly works. And Koch explains that this concept also applies to personal wealth, as a small percentage of investments typically yield the highest returns, meaning that rather than diversifying too broadly, individuals can achieve better financial outcomes by identifying and investing in the few assets, stocks, or income streams that generate the most significant gains. And he discusses how entrepreneurs who recognize the 80-20 principle build businesses that scale efficiently as they focus on the most lucrative opportunities while outsourcing or eliminating time-consuming tasks that contribute little to revenue, reinforcing that working smarter, not harder, is the key to financial success. And he urges readers to analyze their own businesses, careers, and financial habits to pinpoint the small percentage of actions that generate the most income and value, then restructure their approach to maximize those high-impact areas, whether by refining their business model, reallocating investments, or shifting focus toward their highest-paying skills or clients. And he highlights that companies and individuals who fail to apply the 80-20 principle often struggle because they spread themselves too thin, investing too much time, money, and effort in areas that yield little return, whereas those who embrace the principle experience greater success by simplifying, focusing, and leveraging their strengths, proving that financial growth is not about doing more but about doing the right things. And he emphasizes that money naturally follows the 80-20 pattern, as seen in wealth distribution where a small percentage of individuals control the vast majority of assets. And rather than viewing this as a mere coincidence, he argues that individuals can learn from this pattern by positioning themselves to be in the top 20% of income earners, business owners, or investors by strategically focusing on high-value skills, industries, and opportunities. And he encourages readers to take a step back and reassess where their money comes from, where it goes, and what financial habits contribute the most to their long-term success, advocating for a shift in mindset where people stop chasing every opportunity and instead concentrate on the few investments, projects, or customers that generate the highest returns, a strategy that applies whether someone is running a business, managing personal finances, or investing in the stock market. And he warns against the common mistake of assuming that more effort equals more success, explaining that true financial and business growth comes from optimizing the highest-yielding 20% while eliminating the low-yielding 80%. And he concludes by urging readers to adopt an 80-20 approach to business and money, recognizing that wealth creation is not about working the longest hours or pursuing every possible income stream but about strategically identifying and amplifying the few key actions that lead to the greatest financial rewards. Chapter 5, Relationship and Happiness. In Chapter 5 of the 80-20 Principle, Richard Koch explores how the principle applies to relationships and happiness, arguing that just as 20% of efforts lead to 80% of results in business and productivity, a small percentage of people and activities in our lives contribute to the majority of our joy, fulfillment, and personal satisfaction, emphasizing that by identifying and prioritizing these high-value relationships and experiences, individuals can lead significantly happier and more meaningful lives. And he begins by pointing out that most people spend too much time on relationships that drain their energy, obligations that bring little joy, and activities that contribute little to their overall well-being, which is why so many feel overwhelmed, unfulfilled, or disconnected despite being constantly busy. And he suggests that instead of trying to maintain superficial connections with everyone or spreading themselves too thin across countless social commitments, individuals should focus on deepening their bonds with the select few people who genuinely bring value, love, and support into their lives, which means recognizing that not all relationships are equal and that a small number of people, whether family, close friends, or romantic partners, are responsible for the majority of our happiness. And he explains that those who consciously nurture these key relationships by investing time, attention, and emotional energy in them will experience far greater satisfaction than those who try to please everyone or maintain relationships out of guilt, habit, or obligation, which is why he urges readers to conduct an 80-20 analysis of their personal connections, identifying which relationships bring them the most joy, growth, and positivity and which ones drain their energy or create unnecessary stress. And he argues that this mindset shift allows individuals to spend more quality time with the people who truly matter while minimizing interactions that are toxic, unfulfilling, or simply unimportant, leading to a more harmonious and rewarding social life. and he extends this idea to happiness itself, explaining that just as a small number of people contribute to most of our joy, a small percentage of activities and experiences create the majority of our fulfillment, which means that rather than trying to do everything or constantly chasing new experiences in the hope of finding happiness, individuals should reflect on the few activities that have consistently brought them the most joy and fulfillment, whether it be traveling, reading, creating, exercising, or spending time in nature, and structure their lives around maximizing these high-value experiences while cutting out low-value distractions, obligations, and societal pressures that do little to contribute to genuine well-being. And he points out that many people fall into the trap of seeking happiness in material possessions, external validation, or endless social commitments, when in reality, lasting happiness is often found in the simplest of things: meaningful conversations, deep connections, personal growth, and moments of peace. And he suggests that by applying the 80-20 principle to happiness, individuals can take control of their emotional well-being by deliberately designing their lives around the people and activities that bring them the most fulfillment rather than allowing external circumstances to dictate their joy. And he shares examples of people who have transformed their lives by focusing on the few things that truly make them happy, such as individuals who have simplified their social circles, quit unfulfilling jobs to pursue passions, or restructured their daily routines to include more of what they love while cutting out what drains them, demonstrating that the key to happiness is not doing more but doing more of the right things. And he challenges readers to examine their own lives and ask themselves which small percentage of relationships, habits, and experiences bring them the greatest happiness, and then make a conscious effort to increase these elements while reducing or eliminating the rest, reinforcing that happiness, much like success, follows an 80-20 pattern where a few key influences create the majority of joy. And by recognizing and embracing this principle, individuals can design lives that are not just busy or productive but deeply fulfilling, leading to a greater sense of peace, purpose, and overall well-being. Chapter 6, The 80/20. In Chapter 6 of the 80-20 principle, Richard Koch explores the concept of the 80-20 mindset, emphasizing that adopting this way of thinking can transform the way individuals approach work, relationships, happiness, and success by recognizing that a small portion of efforts, actions, and inputs generate the vast majority of outcomes, rewards, and satisfaction. And he argues that while most people operate under the assumption that effort and results are evenly distributed, those who embrace the 80-20 mindset understand that the world is inherently imbalanced, meaning that instead of trying to do everything equally well, they focus their time, energy, and resources on the select few activities, strategies, and decisions that yield the greatest impact, leading to increased efficiency, effectiveness, and success with far less effort than those who attempt to spread themselves too thin across numerous tasks, obligations, or goals. And he explains that the 80-20 mindset is not just a productivity tool but a fundamental shift in thinking that allows individuals to see patterns of imbalance everywhere and leverage them to their advantage, which means analyzing every aspect of life, work, finances, personal growth, and social interactions, to identify the high-value 20% that produces 80% of the results, and then restructuring priorities to maximize those key areas while minimizing or eliminating the low-impact 80% that contributes little to success or happiness. And he suggests that this mindset is what separates the most successful people, businesses, and innovators from the rest, as those who internalize the principle realize that they do not need to work harder or longer than everyone else but rather need to work smarter by identifying and doubling down on the few things that truly matter. And he provides numerous examples of individuals and companies that have thrived by applying the 80-20 mindset, such as entrepreneurs who focus only on their most profitable customers, artists who create their best work by concentrating on their peak creative hours, and investors who achieve wealth by strategically selecting the few assets that drive the majority of returns while ignoring market noise, reinforcing that success is not about doing more but about doing the right things. And he urges readers to cultivate this mindset by training themselves to constantly ask, what is the 20% that really matters here? In any given situation, whether they are making career decisions, setting goals, managing time, or improving relationships. And he highlights that those who embrace the 80-20 mindset not only achieve more but also experience less stress, frustration, and burnout because they eliminate unnecessary work, obligations, and distractions that do not contribute meaningfully to their objectives. And he warns against the common mistake of believing that success requires a relentless grind or an equal effort across all areas, explaining that those who hold this belief often waste years working on low-value tasks, chasing unimportant opportunities, or trying to be good at everything when, in reality, the highest achievers identify and master the few key activities that deliver extraordinary results. and he encourages readers to apply the mindset to their own lives by conducting an 80-20 analysis of their work, finances, social circles, habits, and goals to pinpoint the most valuable 20% in each area and then consciously shift their focus, time, and resources toward those select high-impact elements while stripping away or delegating the less important 80%. And he concludes by reinforcing that the 80-20 mindset is ultimately about working less but achieving more by thinking strategically, acting selectively, and recognizing that true success and happiness come not from doing everything but from doing the few things that truly matter with excellence and intention. Conclusion. The conclusion of the 80-20 principle by Richard Koch serves as a powerful reaffirmation of the core message that has been explored throughout the book, emphasizing that true success, efficiency, and happiness come not from working harder or doing more, but from focusing intently on the small percentage of actions, decisions, and relationships that yield the greatest rewards. And he underscores the idea that in every aspect of life, whether in business, personal growth, financial management, relationships, or overall well-being, there exists a predictable imbalance where 20% of inputs lead to 80% of results, meaning that the key to maximizing success while minimizing effort lies in identifying and prioritizing these high-impact factors while ruthlessly eliminating, delegating, or reducing the influence of the low-value 80% that contributes little to overall progress. And he challenges readers to move beyond traditional linear thinking, which assumes that effort and results are evenly distributed, and instead adopt a mindset that constantly seeks to uncover the most effective and efficient ways to achieve goals, whether that means focusing only on the most profitable business ventures, investing time in the most meaningful relationships, pursuing the few habits that drive the greatest personal development, or simplifying life to eliminate distractions and unnecessary obligations. And he argues that those who fully integrate the 80-20 mindset into their daily lives will experience profound transformations not only in terms of productivity and financial success but also in terms of overall happiness and well-being, because when people stop wasting time and energy on low-impact activities and instead direct their focus toward what truly moves the needle, they free themselves from stress, frustration, and the feeling of being constantly overwhelmed. And he provides numerous examples of individuals, businesses, and organizations that have thrived by embracing this principle, demonstrating that the world's most successful people, whether entrepreneurs, artists, investors, or athletes, are not those who work the hardest but those who have mastered the art of identifying and concentrating on their unique 20%, leveraging their strengths while disregarding distractions, inefficiencies, and obligations that do not serve their larger vision. And he explains that by applying the 80-20 principle consistently, individuals can design lives that are not only more productive but also more enjoyable, as success and fulfillment come not from trying to do everything but from doing the right things exceptionally well. And he urges readers to take immediate action by performing an 80-20 analysis in every area of life, evaluating which aspects of their work, finances, relationships, and daily routines contribute the most to their success and happiness, then systematically shifting their energy and resources toward those high-impact areas while eliminating or minimizing everything else. And he emphasizes that this is not just a one-time exercise but an ongoing process, as those who continue to refine and optimize their focus over time will experience compounding benefits, unlocking new levels of success and freedom that are unattainable for those who remain trapped in the cycle of busyness and inefficiency. And he warns against the common tendency to equate hard work with achievement, reminding readers that the most successful individuals and companies are not necessarily the ones who exert the most effort but rather the ones who strategically allocate their energy toward the few things that truly matter. And he concludes with a powerful call to action, encouraging readers to embrace the 80-20 mindset as a lifelong strategy for achieving greater success with less effort, reminding them that by thinking differently, acting selectively, and focusing on what truly drives results, they can unlock a level of effectiveness, wealth, and happiness that far surpasses conventional expectations, ultimately proving that the 80-20 principle is not just a theoretical concept but a practical and life-changing philosophy that has the power to revolutionize the way people work, live, and pursue their most important goals.